Welcome to 21st Sports Recap and Reaction for Game 2 of the ALCS between the Toronto Blue Jays and the Kansas City Royals, played October 16th, 2015. We're going to go over every at-bat and the stats and give our breakdown and analysis. And this was quite a game. It was almost like two different games in one. Let's start off in the first inning. Yordano Ventura on the mound for the Royals. David Price going for the Blue Jays. And in the top of the first, Ventura would set down the side in order as Revere grounded out, Donaldson struck out, and Bautista grounded out. So now to the bottom of the first, Escobar would lead off with a single. Zobrist then grounded into a fielder's choice. Escobar would be out at second. So now Kane would come up one out, one on, and he flew out. And then Hosmer struck out. So that did it for the first inning. Now in the second inning, Encarnacion would lead off with a single. Colabello would hit a single as well. And now Tulo came up with 2 on, no outs, and he struck out. And then Russell Martin hit into a double play. And so now we would go to the bottom of the second. David Price would set down the side in order as he struck out Morales and got Moustakas and Perez to ground out. So now on the top of the third, Ventura would end up letting up a leadoff double to Kevin Pillar. Then Goins hit a double, and that drove in Pillar, and it was now 1-0 Toronto over Kansas City. So the Blue Jays getting on the scoreboard first here in the third. Revere would then strike out. Donaldson then grounded out. Now Goins on third base, 90 feet away from home. Bautista at the plate, 2 outs. And Bautista would fly out. So now it was 1-0 headed to the bottom of the third, and David Price would set down the side in order for the second straight inning as he would get Gordon to pop out, Rios grounded out, and Escobar would ground out. So that did it for the third inning, but in the top half of the inning, the Blue Jays had put up the first run in this game. So 1-0 in the top of the fourth, Encarnacion would strike out, Colabello grounded out, Tulowitzki hit a single, and then Russell Martin grounded out, and that would do it for the top half of the fourth. So now in the bottom of the fourth, David Price would set down the side in order for the third straight inning as he struck out Zobrist, Kane grounded out, and then Hosmer struck out. So he bookended the inning, the half inning with strikeouts, and we are on to the fifth. So on the top of the fifth, Ventura would set down the side in order as he got Pillar to foul out, Goins struck out, and Revere flied out. So now to the bottom of the fifth, Price continued his excellence in this portion of the game as he would set down the side in order for the fourth straight inning. Morales lined out, Moustakas flew out, Perez grounded out. So that would do it for the fifth. So now to the top of the sixth, Donaldson would reach on an infield single. Now Bautista drew a walk, so you had 2 on, no outs for Encarnacion. He hit a single, that brought in Donaldson, and it was now 2-0 Blue Jays over the Royals with 2 men on, still no outs. Colabello would strike out, so now Tulo would come to the plate, 1 out, 2 on. Tulo hit a double, and that brought in Bautista. Encarnacion then on third, so now you had 2 men in scoring position, and it was 3-0. Russell Martin drew a walk, so now you had the bases juiced with no outs, and that would do it for Ventura. Hochevar would come in relief, and he would face Pillar. He got him to pop out, and then Goins grounded out. So Hochevar gets out the inning with the bases loaded, but the Jays added 2 more runs to extend their lead to 3, although it could have potentially been a lot more runs with the bases juiced with just 1 out. And so on to the bottom of the sixth, David Price would set down the side in order for the 5th straight inning as he struck out Gordon, struck out Rios, and struck out Escobar as he struck out all 3 batters in the bottom of the sixth. So at this point, David Price was just dominating the Royals as he had gone through the lineup twice. And now on to the top of the seventh, Duffy in relief of Hochevar, and he would end up setting down the side in order as he got Revere to ground out, Donaldson flew out, and Bautista struck out. So that would do it for the top of the seventh. So now to the bottom of the seventh. So at this point, Price was just dominating. Now he was going through the lineup for the third time, and that's what happens when batters this good see a pitcher that many at-bats in a game. You might get you the first couple, but now here in the seventh, going through the lineup the third time, Zobrist with the leadoff single. Lorenzo Cain then hit a single, 2 on, no out for Eric Hosmer, and Hosmer dropped one in to center field. Zobrist scored, Cain to third, runners on the corner. It's now 3-1 as the Royals put their first run on the scoreboard and cut the Blue Jays lead to 2. Morales then at the plate would ground out, but that would bring in Lorenzo Cain from third and move Hosmer over to second. It was now a 1-run game with the score 3-2. Then Moustakas hit a single. Moustakas had been struggling in this postseason, but he comes up clutch here, brings in Hosmer, and Moustakas would end up on second on the throw to home. So this game was now tied up with the go-ahead run on second. Perez struck out, and that was the first out of the inning. So now Alex Gordon came to the plate. Gordon hit a double. That brought in Moustakas, and the Royals were now in the lead by 1 with the score 4-3 Kansas City over Toronto. And that would do it for David Price, as he had set down the side in order 5 straight innings. He had struck out the side in the bottom of the 6th, but here in the bottom of the 7th, the Royals blow this game wide open and score 4 runs, and David Price was done. So Sanchez would come in to relieve Price, and he would let up a single to the first batter he faced, Alex Rios, and that scored Alex Gordon, the Double-A connection. And now the Royals were up by 2 with the score 5-3, Kansas City over Toronto. So Orlando would come into pinch run for Rios, and Escobar would ground out, and that would do it for the bottom of the 7th, but not after the Royals had scored 5 runs. So now on to the top of the 8th. Kelvin Herrera into pitch for the Royals in relief of Duffy, and he would end up striking out Encarnacion. Colabello then hit a double, Tulo flew out, and Martin struck out. So with 1 out and a man in scoring position, 2 straight outs would leave the runner stranded. As I said, Tulo flew out, Martin with the strikeout. And now on to the bottom of the 8th. Sanchez still on the mound for the Jays, and he would get Zobrist to fly out. He walked Cain, and now he would be done as Loop would come in to relieve him. Cain was then caught stealing as he was thrown out at second. Hosmer then walked. Morales then walked. That brought up the Moustakas, and Moustakas with the single gets the second RBI of the game, driving in Hosmer, moving Morales to third, runners on the corner, and it was now a 3-run lead, 6-3, Kansas City over Toronto. Lowe would come in to relieve Loop, and Perez would line out, and that would do it for the bottom of the 8th, but not after the Royals had added 1 more run to their score to extend their lead to 3. As we headed to the top of the 9th, Royals up 6-3, and Wade Davis coming in relief to finish this game to close it out in a save situation. And Davis had been pretty much unhittable, but Pilar would lead off with a single. So now Pennington would pinch hit for Goins. He would draw a walk, and now you had 2 runners on, no outs. And so the tying run at the plate, the go-ahead run potentially on deck. So Revere at the plate representing the tying run, and Wade Davis would strike out Revere as he knuckled down, came up clutch with the first out of the inning. Then Josh Donaldson, one of the most dangerous hitters in all of baseball this year, especially a threat to go deep as he led the Blue Jays in home runs in a team that led the league in home runs. And Wade Davis would strike out Josh Donaldson. So 2 straight strikeouts after letting up 2 runners on base, a hit and a walk. And it was 2 on, 2 out for Jose Bautista, who would be representing the tying run at the plate. 2 outs, top of the 9th, and Wade Davis gets Bautista to fly out as he was swinging the bat going for the fences, but he would not reach it. It would be an out to right as he flew out, and Wade Davis picks up the save, and the Royals win 6-3 and go up 2-0 in the ALCS as they come from behind, down 3-0, to score 5 runs in the bottom of the 7th. And what an amazing comeback after David Price had been so dominant on the mound. He was just breezing through the lineup, and then in the seventh, the third time around, he got into trouble. And it was the thing watching the game. I was thinking that basically, like, wow, David Price, after coming in, picking up that win in relief in the ALCS against the Rangers, that really got that, monkey off his back, the chip off his shoulder, whatever you want to call it. Got rid of that shadow that was hanging over him, that gray cloud where he just, he had been 0-6. He had always been struggling in the playoffs, just couldn't get it done. And in this game, it looked like, wow, he finally is pitching like a gem until the bottom of the seventh when the Royals, this is what I say about their offense. They're a team that, because they, count on hits and they string hits together, they play that small ball. And the Royals, the way they get things done is just, top to bottom in that lineup. They all are hitters and they hit at the same time. And that's what they did in the seventh. The whole game long they were getting shut down. But when they finally started hitting, they just kept on hitting. They just kept on getting on base. They just kept on pushing the inning forward. And the next thing you know, they got 5 runs in that bottom of the seventh. They said, they just kept doing a single, a ground out, a single, a double, a single. That's how they got it done. So it wasn't even extra base hits. They only had 1 extra base hit in the game. The Blue Jays, although they didn't go deep, they had 4 doubles in this game. And they said the Royals just stringing those hits together all at the right time. And this one's got to be demoralizing for Toronto because they were doing things in this game. They didn't get the home run. That's kind of, they live and die on the home run. And if they don't hit a home run, then they struggle to win. But they were actually getting the hits. They actually, especially the production out of their 4, 5, 6 hitters. They had 6 hits between the 3 of them, between Encarnacion, Colabella, and Tulowitzki, all going 2 for 4. But even with that production, even with the 10 hits, they only manufactured 3 runs. And the Royals had 2 less hits, 8 hits, and they got 6 because they got them all at the same time. That's the thing with Kansas City. Like I said, when they get going, they start stringing hits together. They just keep going because that lineup, like I said, top to bottom, 1 through 9, is one of the most solid contact hitting lineups you'll find in all of baseball. Like I said, once it came to going through the lineup the third time around, even a pitcher as good as David Price and even as good of a game as he was pitching, you might be shutting the guy down the first time you see him, the second time you see him, but once a hitter as good as any of the hitters in this lineup for Kansas City gets to see a pitcher 3 times in a game, then they're likely to at least string together some singles, and that's what they did. They started stringing together those singles. They got plenty of good looks at Price. They said he won the battle the first 2 times around, but the third time around that lineup, he just got totally friggin' blown up. And I'll tell you, the Royals get an excellent performance by their bullpen in this game as they continue to dominate in this postseason. Their bullpen has been excellent. Let's look at the stats, though. The win goes to Danny Duffy. Davis with the save. Price gets the loss. Ventura, he did let up 3 earned runs in 5 1/3 innings off of 8 hits, but that was a pretty solid performance by him. 6 strikeouts, 2 walks. But then the bullpen just dominating as the rest of the way. The 4 pitchers that came in did not let up any runs. Hochevar, 2/3 of an inning, no hits, no earned runs. Danny Duffy, who picked up the win, had 1 strikeout, no earned runs, no hits, no walks. Herrera came in, 1 inning, 1 hit allowed, no earned runs, 2 strikeouts. And Wade Davis, he had the 1 walk and the 1 hit, but no earned runs and 2 strikeouts in this game. And then you got Bautista to fly out. So he comes up clutch for the save. And David Price, like I say, he was cruising through the first 6 innings. But in that 7th inning, that's when he let up those 5 earned runs. But through 6 2/3 innings, 5 earned runs off of 6 hits, no walks, 8 strikeouts. Sanchez came in for 2/3 of an inning, 1 hit, 1 walk, no earned runs. Loop pitched 1/3 of an inning. He allowed 1 earned run off of 1 hit and 2 walks. That was charged to him. And then Lowe, 1/3 of an inning, no hits, no earned runs. And on the offensive end for Kansas City, Escobar 1 for 4. Zobrist 1 for 4 with a run scored. Kane 1 for 3 with a run scored. He also walked. Hosmer 1 for 3, 2 runs scored, 1 RBI and a walk. Morales was 0 for 3, but he had an RBI and a walk. And Moustakas, I'll tell you, Moustakas came up huge, and that was something that they needed, was Moustakas to get hitting. And he was 2 for 4 in this game with 2 RBIs and a run scored. His first 2 hits of this series. He's been struggling in the postseason here, but he has a big game here, comes up really clutch. Those couple of RBIs. And when the Moose is going, that's a really good sign for the Royals. Perez was 0 for 4. Gordon 1 for 3 with a run scored and an RBI. And Rios 1 for 3 with an RBI as well. So they're getting a lot of production up and down the lineup. Perez was actually the only starter that did not reach base for the Royals. So 8 of their 9 starters in the lineup reached base. And I think, let's see, Escobar didn't get an RBI, but other than 7 of the 9 also either had an RBI or a run scored. So same as game 1, where 7 of the 9 guys were involved in the run, whether it be an RBI or coming across the plate for a run. Again, here in this game, same thing. The Royals, a full team effort, everybody up and down the lineup, either coming across the plate or getting an RBI, 7 of the 9, and 8 of the 9 getting hits. And over for Toronto, Revere 0 for 5 out of the leadoff spot. Donaldson 1 for 5, 1 run scored. Bautista was 0 for 4. He did come across the plate once because of the 1 walk that he had. Encarnacion 2 for 4 with an RBI. Colabello 2 for 4. Tulowitzki 2 for 4 with an RBI. Martin 0 for 3. Pilar 2 for 4 with a run scored. And Goins 1 for 3. So you're seeing, Revere, Bautista, and Martin struggling, although you're seeing some good production there, like I said, out of the 4, 5, 6 hitters. But it didn't necessarily translate into runs, as they weren't necessarily stringing their hits together, although they were getting some extra base hits. I mean, Price had him in the game there, obviously. He wasn't letting up nothing through the first 6. So he was shutting them down. I mean, he shut down the side in order 5 straight innings. He was just dominating at that point. He had quite the performance, as he actually, with those 5 straight innings, that was 17 straight batters retired by David Price from the first inning through the 6th until that 7th inning where he just got destroyed. But let me know what you think in the comments section below. Definitely interested to read your thoughts and opinions. At 2-0 now, Kansas City is sitting pretty. They got to go to Toronto, obviously, for Game 3. But at 2-0, the Blue Jays are in a pretty deep hole here. And the Royals, they keep playing the way they're playing. Their bullpen keeps being as dominant as they have been in the playoffs. And they continue to string together those hits the way they're doing and continue to have all that production out of their lineup top to bottom. They're going to be a really tough team to beat, as they do look like they are going back to the World Series. Although anything can happen, there's still plenty of baseball left to play, and it's going to be a lot of fun to watch. And the Blue Jays, with that long ball, they start hitting those long balls and they could win some games, but they're going to need to go deep. And that's the thing that's tough about when you live and die on the home run, is that it's tough to get consistency out of the home run. You might hit a home run every, once a week, or once every 2 or 3 games, but it's not like you're going to hit a home run every game. Even, the top guys, I said, Donaldson, it's 41 home runs in the season. Well, out of how many games they play, that's only 1 every 4 games. In the series, it's a 7-game series. If you're only hitting a home run every 4 games, the series might be over and you've only hit 1 home run. And if that's what you're counting on to win, of course, they've got power throughout that lineup, but you aren't guaranteed, when is guys going to hit their home runs and our guy's going to be on base. So that's the problem you find in the postseason up against better pitching. You know what I mean? That it's tougher to get those home runs, and especially the way the Royals bullpen is pitching. Once the Royals get to their bullpen, then at that point, the Blue Jays really struggle to get any runs on the board. And the Royals, they're a team that is very persistent on offense. And once they open things up, once they get to your bullpen, even though they actually got on Price before getting to the bullpen, like I said, part of that is once the third time around this lineup, you're going to struggle to retire these guys, and they don't need home runs. They'll just keep hitting singles off you, and that's where you run into trouble. But like I said, let me know what you think in the comments section below. Definitely interested to read your thoughts and opinions. Thank you very much for listening. It is so greatly appreciated, more than words can express. I thank you so very much, and I hope you're having a good day and had a great weekend, and enjoy all the sports.